Hello Brandman family, my name is Zach Mercier, and I'm actually one of you. I'm a Brandman Gamma, and I'll be showing you how to create a literature matrix using Google Drive. Throughout this program, you will see different versions of literature matrices, including programs such as Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and they each have strengths and weaknesses, and they're all functional. Google Drive is no different. However, the accessibility and live format of Google Drive make it stand out from the rest. When I first started this program, I used Microsoft Excel for my literature matrix, and I found myself without my document or having to upload and download the document, and it was becoming frustrating. Understanding the advantages that Google Drive offers, I was actually disappointed that I didn't think about using Google Sheets in the first place. So I started over and transferred my literature matrix to Google Sheets and didn't look back. So in this video, I'm going to move slow enough to where you can follow along, but hopefully fast enough to where I don't create a super long video. But the goal is for you at the end of this video to be able to create your own literature matrix template and be able to start hopefully from day one. If not, you can transfer your literature matrix from Excel to your sheet quite easily just using copy and paste. So let's get started. I'll break this video down into different parts, and some of it may not make sense when you first see it, but I think when you see the end result, you'll understand why we did what we did. We're going to start by going up to here and creating a new document. So I'm in my Google Drive. You most likely want to use your Brandman account, obviously. And then you go up and create a new sheet by pushing this blue button and selecting Sheets. And that'll open up a new sheet. And what I would suggest to do right away is to title your spreadsheet. I'm going to title this one Sample Matrix. You're also going to put your title in this first cell. You're going to do that because when we create a PDF, this title won't show, and we want the title of the matrix to appear with all the data we're going to put in. But before we do that, let's go ahead and create our borders. And our borders are going to separate our themes, which are going to go across the top, and our references, which are going to go down this column. And before I go any further, I would like you to know that I am using a Mac. However, all the steps that I'm showing you will work on Mac or PC, because remember, Google Drive is an internet-based company, so it does not matter whether you're using a Mac or a PC. There actually is only one difference in the whole instructions that I'm going to go through today. The only difference is how you copy and paste, and the Google Drive will actually show you both ways, so it actually be a non-factor. So let's get back to creating the borders. I'm going to create a border along row 2, and I do that by selecting row 2, and notice it highlights it. And once selected, I'm going to go up and choose this button, which is fill color, and I'm going to make a black border. I'm also going to do the same thing on column 2, so I do that by clicking column 2, and once again notice it highlights it, and I go up to the fill color button and I choose black once again. Now the next step I'm going to show you is you don't have to do. However, I like to have my matrix aesthetically pleasing, so I like to use color. So I'm actually going to also color the theme row up here, and I do that by selecting row 1. Notice it highlights it again, and I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm going to choose the nice Seahawk green. I'm also going to color column A by selecting column A and going over here once again and choosing a Seahawk blue. Now this first cell where I'm going to put my title, I'm going to make this a neutral color. I'm going to go over and select cell A1 as just being white, and I'm going to put the title in here, and I'm going to call this, like I already did above, Sample Matrix. Okay, so now we have our borders set, and we're ready to put in the different data that we're going to need for this matrix. Now I alluded to earlier that this top row is going to be my theme row. So I'm going to go right here to this cell, B1, and I'm going to title this Themes. Okay, you can make it bold if you'd like to make it stand out. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to title in this cell, A2, I'm going to title this, because this column is my references. Okay, references, and I'm also going to make that bold to make it stand out. Now that the bare bones of the template is done, we're going to format the spreadsheet so when I put data into the cells that it'll automatically do what we want it to do. To separate the cells, I'm going to darken in these grid lines here, and you do that simply by going up to since we want it to happen to the entire cell, this block right here, this cell up in the corner, notice when I push it, it highlights the entire grid right here. Push it and it highlights the entire grid. I'm going to go up to this button right here, the borders button, click on it and choose the entire all borders. And by doing that, notice what happens to the grid, that it gets each cell has its own borders. What that's going to do is separate the data that I put in there so it stands out. Okay. Now, right now you can see the entire spreadsheet. However, as you add to your references, you're going to add 100, 150, 200 different references along the side. Each time you read an article or a book, it could be worthy enough for you to put in here as a reference. So notice when I'm scrolling, I can no longer see my theme row. And same thing with the themes. As I put in different themes, I might have 10, 15 themes, and notice the references go away. Well, that gets pretty annoying when you're trying to remember as you're scrolling what this cell, which reference this cell is referring to. So what we're going to do that is we're going to have this row, the theme row, and the reference column. We're going to actually freeze those to where they do not scroll when we scroll. Now to do that, you go up to View right here. So you click View, and notice one of your options is freeze. Now I actually want 2 rows to freeze, and you'll see why. I want the row that has the theme, and I want the black border to freeze. So I'm going to select 2 rows, and what this does is it freezes the 2 rows when I scroll, and I'll show you a sample of that in a second. So go ahead and click that. Notice a gray line appeared right here to show you that these top 2 rows are now frozen. Now I want to do the same thing to my columns. I'm going to freeze the column A and column B. I'm going to do that by going up to View once again, freeze, and this time I want to freeze 2 columns. Okay, and notice there's a border now that appeared there also. Now watch what happens. This is why you do this. As I have many references that I'm going to list, and I start scrolling down, notice these numbers are getting larger, but my themes stay here. What that does is when I scroll and I want to know what theme this cell falls under, you can still see the row up here. Same thing when you scroll horizontally. Let's say I want to do theme, I want to look at theme Q. Well, notice now, let's say I'm looking at this cell, notice now the reference bar, reference column stayed put. So this is a nice little feature, freeze frames, to where when you scroll, these colored borders stay put. And that's another reason why I chose to put them as colored borders, so I can always see them and know where they're at. Now we're ready to finalize the cells, so our template will be complete and ready for data input. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to center justify and middle justify each of these cells. That way when we input the data, it'll be perfectly in the middle of the cell and away from the other pieces of data, so it's easily visible. And we're going to do all the cells at the same time. So I'm going to go to this corner button and select this corner piece here, and that highlights the entire document. And I'm going to go over to our alignment button and select it and choose the middle one, which literally is middle, and that middle justifies each cell. And I'm also going to notice it's still highlighted blue. If it for some reason unhighlights, just go back up here and select that cell to highlight the entire document again. But I'm going to also select this button and choose our center justification. And what that just did, even though you can't see it, what that did is set these cells to take the input and put it in the middle of the cell, like that X right there. And what that does, once again, is it makes just the grid easily visible. The next and last step for our template is to text wrap our rows and our columns. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to put data into these cells that just won't fit. For example, if I were to put this long piece of data into this cell, notice it hides the majority of it because it simply doesn't fit. So we're going to automatically tell the cells, and we're going to do all the cells, that when I put data into the cell and it's too large, to auto adjust the cell, and that's called text wrap. And we're going to do the whole document. Even though I really don't need my cells here to be text wrapped, I'm just going to do the whole document because it's easier, faster. I select the entire document once again by pushing this button here, this cell, and I go up to my text wrap button, which is right here, and I select it. And there's 3 choices, and you're going to choose the wrap button click that, and you can't see what it just did, but now what it did do is if I put in long data, it automatically adjusts the size of the cell to fit that data. And that is very important because it gets very annoying to have to do that individually or to adjust the size of the column's width. Now, speaking of the column width, just because I want this to look aesthetically pleasing again, this column here is just too thick, so I'm going to adjust the size of this column. I don't need it to be this thick. I want more room, so I'm going to go up, and if I hover my mouse, notice I'm not pushing a button, I'm just hovering, it eventually turns to an arrow when I get close to the side of the column, and I'm going to hold down the click, and then I can drag and change the size. Notice I can go larger, I can go smaller. And that, my friends, completes the template. We have the literature matrix template completed, yet the fun has not begun because you are here for functionality, not just a template. So let me show you the reason why you want to use Google Drive for your literature matrix. We're going to start by putting in our themes and references. So as you know, while you read your articles, your journals, your books, you're going to see themes in the writings. And when you do, this is what you want to document. Let's say that you're writing a dissertation on leadership and you're reading a book called The Leadership Challenge, and you notice that there's a theme of, let's say, shared vision and relationships, and you notice that's a theme that you've seen throughout some of the readings that you've done, and so you want to document that. So what you do over here in the reference column, you would put in your reference, and notice I am not putting this in APA style yet. Actually, you don't even have to in your matrix. However, you're going to want to do that obviously in your writings, and there's going to be times you're going to put this in APA style because it's just easier and you can copy and paste later. But right now I'm reading and I don't want to get my flow stopped by APA, so I'm just going to put in enough information where I know that this book belongs to the Leadership Challenge book that I'm reading, and I notice that there's the theme of shared vision and relationships. Okay, so I put my themes here, and I want to put an indicator that I found these themes with this reference. So there we go. So what I've just done is I've put my reference here and I've my two themes. Now notice I wrote these two new themes as new themes because it's the first reference. Obviously though, when I read other articles, if they match this theme, I would not add a new one. I would just put an indicator that the new reference also has the same theme here as shared vision. For example, let's say I read a new excuse me, I read a new book called The Inspiring Leadership by Fisher and Martini, and it is called Inspiring Leadership. And let's say I read that book and it also speaks of a shared vision. However, it has a new theme of inspiration. And I would show this indicator by marking that cell. And I think you get the picture here. You'll do this, and you will do this for hundreds of different references. And like I said, sometimes you may or may not put the reference in your literature matrix. If you see it match with one of the themes, I would absolutely suggest doing it, because later on, as you write your dissertation, your prospectus, and even some of your assignments, you're going to want to go back and find, let's say you're writing about inspiration, well, you're going to want to go back and find all the different articles and books that have the theme of inspiration. So this literature matrix makes this extremely easy to do this. I would highly suggest you begin your literature matrix from the very first article that you read. And if you're listening to this halfway through your program and you have not done so, start today. Do not wait. I promise you, remember, I am one of you going through this process, and I promise you that you're going to read so much, you're not going to remember which book spoke of which theme, and you're going to want to find this very easy template to use as a guide. You can filter these columns out later to just show the references that only speak of inspiration, and it gives you your cites instantly, and you can go back and refer to those articles and books to get that information. And you're going to see later how we're going to actually insert quotes here to even make it easier. Okay, so let's say though that you have already done an assignment and you want to put this, you use the cite in one of your assignments and you want to insert that into your matrix because you have not done so yet. That's very easily done. Okay, let me pull up a assignment. So let's say this is one of my assignments and I'm just going to pick one of these references and I want to use this reference in my literature matrix. However, I have not put it in my literature matrix yet. You can do that by copying and pasting. So what you do is quite simply go to your document here that you're copying and pasting from. I'm taking this reference, I'm going to copy it, and you can copy it by either Control C or Command C if you're using a Mac, or obviously go up to your edit and choose copy. So I copy, and I'm going to paste it. Now here's where you need to be careful, because when you paste it, you don't want to just paste it. What I mean by that is you don't want to paste it, because notice we're pasting a document on a white background to a document on a blue background. I know that's not a big deal, and some of you may not even color this column, and then they wouldn't be a big deal. But if you do choose to color the column, you're going to want to copy this, but we're going to do a special copy. So we do Command V or Control V. Keep in mind that if I try to copy it and paste it here, it's going to tell me I need to use one of my shortcuts. That is one of the drawbacks of Google Docs. You must want to use the shortcuts for your copying and pasting. To this day, I'm not sure why, but we're going to do so. So I'm going to Command or Control V, and notice it's going to give me a little drop-down menu to choose from. And I'm quite simply going to choose Paste Values Only. And what that means is I'm only pasting the words, not the format. So when I do so, notice it puts it right in there, right inside the color, perfectly done. And it's APA style because I already had my citations here in APA style. So notice it's created a very large cell, and that's easily solvable. Matter of fact, I should have done that earlier, but I'm going to show you that in a second. But now we have our article here. And just to keep the theme going, let's say that when I read this article, I noticed that it spoke on relationships. So I'm going to indicate that with an X. And notice it censored it because we did that formatting earlier. And now to adjust this column, just like we did before, all you do is hover over your column until you see the arrow, click, and as you're holding down the click, just drag it over, make it a good size, and notice that now makes this column wider, but it adjusts these cells to make them a little bit smaller. And that's what we're going to want to do. This is a good size because some of your references are going to get long. Okay, so now one of the main features of using Google Sheets for your literature matrix, what I'm about to show you does work on Excel also. However, it's much easier on Google Drive. We're going to insert a quote, and you're going to see some samples of literature matrix that put quotes off to the side. For example, you may have 7 themes and then a quote column, and then up to 3, 4, 5, 10 quote columns. You may see some people actually insert quotes into the cells here. You may see that. That just becomes cumbersome, and it really draws out the size of your cells. What we're going to do is we're going to insert quotes inside our boxes, our cells, and they're going to be invisible until you choose to see them. This is a great feature of Google Drive, and like I said, it works with Excel, a little easier with Google Drive. Okay, here's how you do that. You quite simply hover over the cell, click inside the cell, and you can either right-click and choose Insert Comment, or go up to Insert and choose Comment. So either way that you're comfortable. If you notice, there was even a shortcut, Control Option M. However, with right-clicks, it's just much easier. So let's say in this reference, I have a quote for shared vision. I go to Insert Comment, and notice a screen pops up where I can insert my quote. Now, this is just a suggestion. If I'm taking the quote directly from the book, I use quotations, and I'll put, let me just make up a quote, and I apologize, I'm just literally making up this quote. A leader must have a shared vision. Very generic, I know. And I put the page number, let's say 63. Okay, notice I put quotes. That tells me that this is a direct quote. Okay, then you hit comment, and there's your quote. Now look what happens. When I click off that cell, the comment you cannot see any longer. However, there's an indicator right there, that little wedge in the cell that tells me there's a comment there. Then by hovering over it, I can see the comment, or clicking the box, the cell, I can see the comment. Great feature, because now you have a direct quote. So later on, when you're using this reference, you have the page number and the quote that you want to use, and you can put many, many quotes. To put an additional quote, all I need to do is either edit my current quote and just put in another quote like this, or I can reply to my own quote. And by replying to my own quote, let me put in another quote, insert another quote again. Once again, I'm just doing this for time's sake, so apologize for the generic quotes. There we go. And then now look what happens when I hover over. I can see my 3 quotes. So you can either just edit the first quote you did or do a reply. I actually like to do a reply because it clearly shows it as a separate quote. Now, I was alluding to what I like to do when I do quotes. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I paraphrase the quote already, and sometimes you'll have time to do this. Let's say I read this book and I see a shared vision quote that I like, but I want to paraphrase it in my own words. If I do that, I do not put quotes on it. And that tells myself that that sentence I just put has already been paraphrased in my own words. That way when I'm referring back, and it might be a month later that I refer back to this reference, I know that I've already paraphrased that, so I do not have to waste time to do that again. So that's just something I do, just a little suggestion. You do not have to do that. Let me scroll back up, almost lost my cell. Okay, there we go. So there's my quotes. And notice it says show all replies, so I click on it and I can see all the quotes here in a box. And they're all hid within this cell, so it does not take space up in that cell. I don't have to create new columns to put quotes. And I can do that through all these. Let's say for this reference here, I have a quote. I'm going to do it again, so I go to insert comment, not quote, and I write in my quote. I'm going to say that I'm taking this directly from the article, so I'm going to use quotes. You must build good relationships. Generic quote, page 100. So that's how you insert your comments and your quotes. And once again, they are indicated by the little wedge in the corner. So once you have 150 of these, you're just going to have a wealth of quotes to use. You can have them paraphrased or not. Just a very good feature of both Excel and Google Drive. Now, as you can imagine, once you have hundreds of references and multiple hundreds of quotes, they're easy to lose track of, and you may forget a quote that you had. Notice up in the upper right hand corner there's a box here that says comments. If you click in this box, you have a running log of all the quotes that you put in, and notice they're in time order. You're going to have your most recent one on top, and you could scroll through this list, and there's not many here, so I can't really scroll because I only have a few quotes here, but you can scroll through this list and see all your quotes without having to hover over or click in the cells. Great little feature to be able to quickly scroll through and find that one quote you may look for. Maybe it's an article that you read 2 months ago and you know there's a quote you just can't remember. Just go up here, click on the comments, and scroll till you find that quote that you want to use. And when you click on it, watch what happens. When you click on it, it actually indicates which cell and reference that you found that quote in. So great, another great feature. Notice I'll click on it again. Let me go up to this one, click, and it highlights this cell for me. So that a good feature there to be able to review your quotes. Now let's say that you are reading and you read an article online. It's an online article and you want the direct link to that article. So let me find one here, and I already have one ready. So here's one by Bass. It's called Does the Transactional Transformational Leadership Paradigm Transcend Organizational and National Boundaries? So I go to my matrix, I put that in, and I'm not going to put this in APA style right now. And for time's sake, I'm just going to put part of the title here. And that is an article from 1989, or a website from 1989. And let's say it speaks on, once again, let's put relationships. Yet I want to include this link in my references so I can easily click on that link and go back to this article anytime I want. To do that, all you need to do is highlight the address of this website, copy it, and we're going to actually insert it into the cell here. And by doing that, you right click, insert link. Okay, when you do that, the text is an X because there's an X in the box. Whoops, I lost it. Let me do that again. Right click, insert link, and I want to paste the link into the box that says link, and you apply it. And what you just did is notice you still have the X indicator, but it is underlined in blue. And what that does is when I now hover or push onto this cell, the link appears. And when you push the link, it appears. Another great feature. So you can easily organize your links. Now I know some of you guys will save this this website article as a PDF on your hard drive, and that's fine, and most of us do that. However, when you're looking through your matrix, you may not want to go dig and find this article through your files. So once again, this just allows you to easily hover over, go right to that article. You have a literature matrix that has many comments embedded. You can have many links embedded, and it's still presented in an easy to view format without clogging your cells with quotes or links. Well, there it is. I hope that you're able to follow along or certainly review this video to create your own literature matrix. You now have all the tools needed to create a literature matrix that will be very functional for you and very accessible. Before we end this video though, it is going to be very important for me to show you how to be able to insert this matrix into your dissertation's appendix. If you're not aware, you must include your literature matrix in your appendix, and in this format, because we did not use Microsoft Word, we have to do a conversion first to do that, and we are going to convert this matrix into a PDF. It's very easy to do, and it's only a couple steps, but very necessary. If you did your matrix, if you remember earlier in the video, I mentioned there's other ways to do a matrix, and if you did your matrix in Microsoft Word, you actually it would be very easy to insert your matrix into your appendix because it's already a Word document. However, you would not have the features that Microsoft Excel or especially Google Drive have. So I'm assuming that most of you are not doing your matrix in Word, and that, once again, that's why you're watching this video. So let me show you how to convert this document into a PDF so then you can insert it into your appendix. Now, assuming you have more than 6 references for your appendix, or for your literature matrix, we're going to pretend like we have 75 references. And notice I put a sample reference down here, 75. Now, I obviously didn't fill in all these spots here, but we're going to pretend like they're full of references. And we're also going to pretend that you have multiple themes. Let's say you have 10 or so themes. So once again, I didn't fill in all these themes because for time's sake, I don't want to do that. But we're going to assume that you have multiple themes and many references. So to convert this to a PDF, what we want to do is we only want to select the portion of this document that we're going to use, that we actually used. Otherwise, what that creates is when you convert it to a PDF, it'll include all these cells over here that we didn't use. So to do that, we go down to our last reference, which is reference 75, and we go over to our last theme, which is right here. So notice we have row 75, column M. So we're going to assume that we have all these cells used. I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to highlight this entire row and then go all the way up and highlight every single cell that we use. Notice it turns it to a light shade of blue, and you even have a little blue line. Notice that thin blue line that has selected that area. What that's going to do is we're only going to convert the selected area. So then we go up to File, click on File, Download As, and you're going to have some choices here. We're going to choose PDF document, and when we click that, it's going to give us some options. Now, it intuitively selected selection for me because I actually selected a group of cells. For some reason, if one of these other 2 buttons are picked, you just choose selection because we're only using the selection. Now down here, it also intuitively selected landscape because the sheet I'm using is already kind of in landscape form. However, if portrait is selected, you want to select landscape, and we're going to fit to width, and what that does is try to keep it on one page. So notice it actually did those for me because Google is very intuitive. Click export, and then notice right away I've now created it's a 2-page document because there's 75 references. Once again, remember, these would be all filled in references, and yours probably be 7-8 pages long. But it put it all on one page because my themes only went over here. Let's say I had 4 more themes. Well, it would adjust this to be a little bit more narrow to fit on one page. You want to try to keep it on one page, otherwise the format comes out uh, kind of weird, and when you put it in your appendix, it's going to be hard to follow along. So it's very important to try to fit it on one page. And then you would just save this and save this on your wherever you save your stuff, and then you would put it you would enter it into the appendix just by inserting a PDF. Well, that concludes this informational video. I hope that you are once again able to follow along and create your matrix. And just from experience, I can tell you using Google Drive and Google Sheets for your literature matrix just made my collection of data just so much easier. Once again, because no matter where I was at, I was able to access my sheet from any device. And sometimes I would catch myself, waiting for my daughter at dance, reading an article, and right on my phone or my iPad, be able to put in the reference right in my sheet and select the themes that matched along. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I would put it in APA format, sometimes I wouldn't, but I always put enough information so I can always refer to that reference when I needed it later. Before I leave you, I want to give you my email address in case you ever have any questions. Feel free to email me. My email address is here, zmercier@mail.brandman.edu, and please feel free to send me any messages you may have. I'll try to answer any questions I can. I check mail religiously, so I'm always checking emails, so I'd get back to you pretty quickly. Thank you for your time, and good luck in your program.